Howdy everyone and welcome back. So I have a bit of a crisis back here with my container plants. Some of them are so heavily infested with spider mites and scale insects that I'm going to have to completely throw them away to try to save my other plants. And that's a heartbreaker to me because some of these trees I've had for years now. But not all hope is lost for all of them. So I want to show you kind of what's going on and some of the things that you can try at home if these insects show up on your plants. So let's get to it. Okay guys, this is what we're looking at here. These kind of brown warty looking things on the plants, those are the scale insects. And a scale insect is what's considered a sucky insect, where they're actively consuming the sap from the plant, especially at the growing tips where it's more tender. And the reason why you're seeing so many ants on this plant is because scale insects will produce a sugary liquid substance called honeydew as a byproduct of consuming sap from the plant. And these ants are actually somewhat farming these scale insects to the point where that's the reason why a lot of times we get the scale insects in the first place is these ants will actively transport them to a plant and tend to them kind of like a flock of sheep or a herd of cows as a farmer would do. So let me show you a close-up of what these scale insects look like. So here's a close-up of what your scale insects look like. They kind of have this protective shield covering that helps to protect them from rain and from sunlight. And the green and black coloring kind of helps them blend in to their plants a little bit better. So now let's take a look at the underside and see where all the action happens that damages our plants. Well, from what I can tell, the purplish area is actually kind of the mouth parts of the scale insect. And correct me if I'm wrong, but these little hitchhikers on there, it's kind of the golden color. I believe those might be baby scale insects. And if I zoom in here a little bit, you can kind of see the legs twitching on the scale insect here. So now let's go take a look at our other big pest on these trees, which are spider mites. Okay, so here's a few things you're going to see if you have spider mites on your plants. You're going to see these cobwebby structures on your stems and leaves, and this is kind of why they got the name spider mites because of the webs they'll produce. And another thing you'll see a lot of times is kind of yellow spotting on the leaves, and this is where they've been feeding on the leaves themselves, eating the kind of the cell contents inside the leaf cells. A lot of times you're going to see them more on the growing tips where it's more tender and on the underside of the leaves where they're more protected. And that's both with scale insects and spider mites. In this case, I'm going to have to get rid of these plants because they're so heavily infested to where they could potentially infect my other plants. Spider mites and scale insects are a problem as well because they can carry bacterial and viral diseases in plants and they can spread to your healthy plants. Well, guys, the deed is done. I had to say goodbye to two trees I've had for as long as some people have had pets. And it felt like I was kind of saying goodbye to a pet because I've had so much time just invested in these trees for many years. But not all hope is lost. I'm going to do everything in my power to save this lemon tree that I've had for over 9 years now. And this is going to take some drastic action. So come along with me and I'll show you what I'm going to try to do. So the first thing we have to do is head off these ants because they're the ones bringing these guys in and out. So if we can cut these guys off, we can start with other tactics after that. Okay guys, so the way I'm going to try to prevent these ants from crawling up into the pot is I'm just going to spray a ring of liquid 7 around the base of the pot. And no, I'm not advertising for 7 or anything like that. It's just what I have on hand. And what I want to do is I just want to put it on the pot. I don't want to put this into the plant itself because I don't want to affect the bees or anything like that that would be pollinating my flowers, which will give me my lemons. And one thing that you could do instead of this is you could put the insect tape that they put around trees or something like that. You could put that around this pot. I just don't have any of that right now, and I've got to do something about this right now, or I would do that. And yeah, so let me get this on there and then we'll talk about how we're going to take care of the scale insects that are on there now. So the first tactic we're going to try is manual removal. And all we're going to do is going to go around here and use nothing but a wet paper towel. And we're going to try to wipe off as many of these scale insects and spider mites as we can, just to knock off the majority of them before we try other things. Now that we've gotten rid of as many of the scale insects and spider mites as we can manually, we're going to need to apply a product that's going to get rid of any of them that I happen to miss, and it's going to deter any further infestations on the plant. The product I'm going to use is called Neem Oil, and Neem Oil is a good organic product that's effective against a wide variety of pest insects. It can be used as a fungicide to treat some fungal infections in plants, and it can be used to treat mites. So this will take care of our spider mites, and it should take care of our scale insects. I really like Neem Oil because it's a really effective product, and if applied correctly, it won't affect our pollinators like bees and butterflies. I'm going to leave a link down in the description with more information about neem oil and pollinators if you'd like to read more about that. But what we need to do now is we need to get our neem oil mixed up and put on the plant. The recommended mixing rate is about 2 to 4 tablespoons per gallon of water. And you're going to want to put it in something like this pump sprayer so we can put it on the plant and get it on the leaves and stems. And it's important to know you want to make sure to spray the undersides of the leaves as well as the top, because in many cases your spider mites and scale insects are going to be more concentrated on the bottom of the leaf where they can stay out of the sun and the weather. And as always with anything we apply to our plants, we need to make sure to read the instructions and precautions before we apply it. So let's get this stuff put on here and let's save our plant. Alright guys, so the neem oil was put on, and all I'm going to do is keep an eye on that lemon tree, and if the insects continue to be an issue, I'm going to go ahead and give it another application of neem in about 7 days. And I'm going to do an update video to let y'all know how the tree's doing. I'm just going to go ahead and do an update video on a lot of the projects we've done so far, so you can kind of see how they've progressed. But until then, if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you have any more questions for me on the neem oil I used or any of the things I did today on controlling scale insects, be sure to leave those down in the comments. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to hit the subscribe button. That way you can be there for when all the new videos come out. Until next time, I hope you'll join me right here on The More You Grow.